Hello everyone and welcome back to your favorite ma'am. So I hope you're doing good and enjoying my videos. So today we are going to continue with the topic that we had started in our previous video, that is microorganisms. So let's move forward. In the previous video we have already covered all about the microorganisms and their various types. We have also covered about the benefits that we derive from these microorganisms and how they help us in so many things. So if you haven't seen that video, I'll put up the link in the description box for your reference. You can go and check that out. So in our previous video, we have already covered how the microorganisms act as a friend. So how do they help us with the commercial or medicinal uses or agricultural or environmental uses? But in this video, we are going to cover how these microorganisms act as our foe or our enemy, or how do they basically harm us. So basically, there are two ways in which these microorganisms can harm us. The first is when they cause diseases and infection in bodies. The second is the food spoilage. So we'll talk about them one by one, and we'll start with diseases and infection which are caused by pathogens. So pathogens are those microorganisms that cause diseases in human beings, animals and plants. They are also called the disease-causing microorganisms. So these disease-causing microbes or pathogens enter inside our body and cause various diseases. These diseases, which can spread from an infected person to a healthy person, are called communicable diseases. So there are mainly two means of transmission of diseases: direct contact transmission and indirect contact transmission. Direct contact transmission occurs when there is a physical contact between an infected person and a healthy person, like kissing or a handshake. So, on contact, the disease-causing microbes transfer from an infected person to a healthy person. The second is indirect contact transmission that occurs when there is no human-to-human contact, like when a healthy person comes in contact of a contaminated surface or an object, or even air. So when an infected person sneezes or coughs, he sends infectious droplets into the air, which, if the healthy people inhale, they risk becoming ill. The last means of transmission is through various vectors like mosquitoes, flies, mites, ticks, rodents, or dogs. So these are the various means through which diseases can spread from one person to another. So these pathogens or disease-causing microorganisms enter the body of a healthy person through air, water, and food. Dirty water or unclean or spoiled food may contain many pathogens. So when a healthy person consumes unclean water or spoiled food, these pathogens there enter the body and cause diseases. So pathogens can spread on contact with an infected person. For example, when a person suffering from common cold sneezes, pathogens are released into the air. And these pathogens may enter the body of a healthy person while breathing, and he or she may also get the common cold. One example of such an infectious disease is coronavirus, or COVID-19 as we are calling it. It is an example of a pathogen called coronavirus that spreads very rapidly from one person to another, the same way as the common cold does. Currently, no specific treatment is available for COVID-19. This new enemy has emerged from China and has brought the whole world to its knees, so it needs to be fought with full might. So to beat this coronavirus, there are a certain do's and don'ts that we must strictly follow. Like, we must wash our hands very frequently for a minimum of 20 seconds with soap and water. Whenever out in public, we must cover our mouth and nose. if we feel any symptoms like a fever above 104 degree Fahrenheit or shortness of breath, we must not self-medicate and consult a doctor. And last and the most important is stay at home and prevent the spread of coronavirus from one person to another. And now for the don'ts of coronavirus. Avoid close contact with anyone. Stop spitting on the road. Avoid traveling in public places. No self-treatment at all. Don't touch your face. And the last and the most important is don't panic if you get any of the symptoms of coronavirus, and get in touch with the medical practitioners as soon as possible to get your medical treatment started. Pathogens can also spread from an infected person to a healthy one through insects and pests such as Anopheles, Aedes mosquitoes, ticks, and the housefly. So insects and pests such as mosquitoes and the housefly, which transmit these pathogens from an infected person to a healthy one, are known as carriers of diseases. So like humans, animals often get infected with many pathogens like viruses and bacteria. One such bacteria, called Bacillus anthracis, was discovered by Mr. Robert Koch, who was a German physician. He discovered the bacteria that causes anthrax disease, which is a highly contagious and infectious disease. Another example is foot and mouth disease, which is a severe, highly contagious viral disease in livestock animals. Similarly, these pathogens also caused many diseases in plants, which eventually decrease the yields of crop, like rice blast, soybean cyst nematode, yellow vein mosaic of bhindi, or citrus canker are many such diseases in plants. Microorganisms such as fungi and bacteria are responsible for the spoilage of various foodstuff as well. The main conditions that are required for the growth of these microorganisms are moderately warm temperature, air, and moisture. Then these microorganisms produce poisonous substances which make food unfit for consumption, and then eating such foodstuff can cause illnesses called food poisoning. So in order to avoid food poisoning, we must not consume the food that are unfit. And to detect those types of foods, we must depend on our senses, basically of our smell, sight, and taste. So if the food smells weird and unusual, or if there are green spots over our food, or if our milk looks curdled, or if any edible food object looks visibly rotten, we must not consume the food as it can lead to food poisoning. So to prevent food spoilage and have the availability of wide variety of foods all year round, we do food preservation, which involves basically creating conditions unfavorable for the growth of microorganisms. So the process of treating and handling food with an aim to stop or slow down its spoilage while maintaining its nutritional value, texture, and flavor is called food preservation, which basically food preservation methods either kills the microbes or prevent their reproduction. And there are different types of food preservation methods used for different kinds of food. So there are different methods of food preservation that we have, like boiling, dehydration, freezing, refrigeration, canning, pasteurization, usage of salt, oil and vinegar, and adding chemical preservatives. So let's study them one by one. So the first is boiling, which I'm sure you must have observed at your own home, like your mother gives you boiled water to drink or even boils the milk before using it. Do you know why? Because boiling these can kill any harmful microbes that are present inside them. Next is dehydration, which involves removal of water, which is one of the key requirements for microbial growth from the food items. So example, papad. Papad is a dehydrated product which is prepared from dal or rice. Refrigeration is another technique of food preservation in which various foods are kept at low temperature and some are even frozen like chicken and poultry to preserve food for a longer time because microbes such as bacteria and fungi cannot thrive at low temperatures. So when fresh fruits and vegetables are frozen, the water present in them also freezes. This helps in preventing microbial reproduction because the microbes in them do not get enough water to reproduce. Food items that can be preserved by freezing include certain meats and vegetables. Canning is another such method of food preservation in which food items are stored in airtight cans. Such food items like jams, vegetables, fish, and even cooked food are canned and sold in the market. For the preservation of certain foods, some chemical preservatives are added which help controlling the microbial growth. For example, sodium benzoate and potassium metabisulfite. These preservatives are used in squashes, sherbets, cold drinks, and ketchups, etc. Now you must have noticed that some people add salt and oil to certain vegetables and keep it in the sun to make pickles. Some also add sugars to pureed fruits to make jams. Now this salt, sugar, oil, vinegar, etc. are added to food to create an environment that prevents microbial growth and also some of them imparts flavor to them. Now lastly we are going to talk about pasteurization. It is a method of food preservation that involves heating a foodstuff to high temperature and then cooling it rapidly. This process ends up in killing any pathogen in the foodstuff that can lead to food spoilage. Pasteurization is named after the French chemist Mr. Louis Pasteur who discovered it in the 19th century. Now you must have heard the word pasteurized milk. It basically means that that particular milk has been pasteurized because raw milk can contain certain pathogens that can make us sick. So it has been heated to a specific temperature and time to kill the pathogens that may be found in it. Pasteurization does not reduce milk's nutrition value or change the composition flavor of the particular foodstuff. So with this, we have completed part 2 of the chapter Microorganisms. So part 1 again, you can go to the description box. I'll put up a link there and you can check it out. If you have any doubt, you can leave a comment and I'll get back to you. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Also, share with your friends for more interesting upcoming videos. Thank you.